Welcome back to another Retro Future Guy build video. In this particular one, I'm going to be creating a mini virtual pinball machine made mostly out of Legos, albeit you'll also need the computer that's running it, whether that's a handheld PC or a laptop, two-in-one tablet that's running the one of the screens, and then you're going to need an extra screen for the back box, which I'll explain presently. This one is pretty complex because it does have two parts to it. It's got the playfield area, which I'm creating the box for right now, and then it's got the back box, which is where not only the screen art, but then also the score display comes out of. You could do this all on one monitor, but then certain really good pinball programs won't work properly, or just won't look all that great in this kind of orientation. So there are a number of programs that are out there that are amazing that you can get off of Steam or off of the internets. Some of the things you'll definitely want to look into are Pinball FX and the older, strangely, Pinball FX3, even though it's got a later number on it. That's the older one. Pinball FX is the newer one. Both of those can be a little expensive, but are generally really high quality, and you can get those up and running pretty easily off of Steam. And then there's also really, really rich communities built around the free Visual Pinball 10 and future pinball systems that you can find GitHubs for and find the communities on VP forums and VP universe. Those are tremendous resources for learning all about virtual pinball, and you can pretty much download any game and its real arcade ROM that ran the scoring and the system and the sound effects and everything like that off of those sites. Pretty much anything that you ever saw in a bar or an arcade has been recreated by somebody or multiple somebodies. There's a lot of times multiple versions of the same game. Let's say you grew up with Twilight Zone or the Addams Family or Attack from Mars. There's generally at least one, if not two, four, or six different versions of those things that people have modified over time, but they are ridiculously close to what was in the arcade because they run the original ROMs in most cases that basically drove the pinball machines back in the day. So there's a lot to learn there for sure, and it can take you a long time to figure it out. So I'll try and simplify some of it to the degree that I know it here. Right now, you're just seeing me build up all of the buttons that I'm going to need for this, which in my case are going to be these four front buttons. You've got a vertical nudge at the far left. That's not 100% necessary, but depending on how you play and whether or not you have an analog controller that allows you to literally physically nudge the little Lego system to approximate pushing the pinball machine to the left or right or give it a shove forward. If you don't want to do that with something made out of Lego, although you could, I certainly have, you would use these buttons that are both the side buttons, not the flipper buttons, the other set of buttons. You would use those to nudge left or right, or for what's called MagnaSave buttons. Not all pinball machines have, but they're essentially special features that are accessed through a second set of buttons. But typically you can use vertical and then horizontal nudge buttons to move the ball around if it looks like it's going to go down the center and you're not going to be able to reach it through the pinball flippers. Then that's usually where you end up needing nudge to come into play. So I've got that leftmost front button being a vertical nudge, and then next to that coin, next to that start, and then on the far right the digital plunger button. I didn't want to try and stick in a full spring-loaded pinball plunger into this because it just would have been so large and unwieldy and heavy, and I could have done it, but I decided not to. Those other two ones that look kind of like a smiley face eyes back in the back. Those, again, not totally necessary, but to keep you from having to have a keyboard plugged into this, it's a good idea to have one of those buttons, and the one on the far left I'm ultimately going to be using as a down button. That vertical nudge one is actually an up button, and then the left and right are the nudge buttons on the that are attached to the flipper buttons. And then in the upper right edge, there's going to be another button, and that's essentially just a back button. Some computer programs will require that. Some of them will just have you using either the coin or the start button to do those same functions. So right now I'm just building up the sides and putting the buttons in place. I moved around those little stabilizer ones, which I initially put down in the wrong position. But those are important because they are going to hold up and stabilize the playfield monitor. So I think I started to say earlier that virtual pinball requires at least, well, it doesn't require two monitors. You can get away with just a single desktop view, but once you start going into portrait view, which is the way that this is laying out, like you would see it in the arcade, you need at least two monitors. You need one for the playfield, which is where everything really happens, and then you've got one that sits in the back box, which I haven't built yet, but I will start on presently. And that has not only your art for the game, the screen that used to sit on the back glass there, the art that's associated with the game, but then also in this particular case, if you don't have a separate DMD, which is your scoring monitor, which would essentially be a third monitor, you can share that with the back glass monitor. And that's what I did here. I could have stuck a third screen in here, but it would have just made it very tall and heavier, and it just didn't seem necessary, seeing as how the Lenovo Legion Go that is powering this thing has a really bright 8.8 inch screen that looks really nice. So that was going to be fine for displaying the art and the score. Incidentally, that handheld that is serving as the brains of this thing is a couple years old now, and I picked it up pretty recently from Best Buy for, I think, $420. It was ridiculously inexpensive. It was an open box model, but you can frequently get them on sale these days and find them on eBay for even less than that, because it's set to be replaced by a Lenovo Legion Go 2 at the end of this year that I'm looking forward to getting my hands on and doing a review video and maybe a future pinball build video around, because I feel like it'd be really good for that. But yeah, it's a Windows 11 handheld that is completely adequate for something like this, and a lot of other games as well, but I like it for this. I'm also going to be doing a version that uses the Asus Z13 2025 edition for the playfield. It's a 2-in-1 Windows 11 tablet, and then I would just get a cheap monitor for the back glass, because it doesn't really require two nice monitors. It just requires one that has the brains in, and then the other just kind of supports it. And in fact, the Legion Go one that I'm building here is just going to have a 14-inch 60 hertz monitor that I found on Amazon for, I don't know, $69 or $79. It wasn't very expensive, and there weren't very many options at the 14-inch size, which I wanted for this to fit the base plates. It would have been nice to have a higher refresh rate monitor in there. It just would have made it that much smoother when you're watching the pinball move really quickly around the playfield if it was running at 120 hertz or 144 hertz. But at this kind of size, 14-inch playfield, 60 hertz is really totally adequate, especially if you're not, addicted to higher speed gaming. And frankly, even if I could have gotten the monitor at a higher resolution, if I'd have gotten a 2K or a 4K monitor rather than the 1080p one that I have in here, or maybe it's 1200p, I I wouldn't have done it because it just is more data to push to a screen that's too small, at least for my old eyes, to really be able to appreciate a difference in. So right now I'm just building up an angled wall on both sides of this because typically that's the way that pinball machines are angled in the arcade, where the top of the play field is higher than it is when it gets down closest to you. And part of that is for gravity, and part of that, I suppose, is just so that you can see the entire play field well. And the same thing in virtual pinball. You really want that angled to some degree because it makes it easier to see and it makes it more realistic. Um, so in virtual pinball, obviously it's virtual. There are no physical balls that are rolling around. It's just all on the monitor. It's all in the program, and it's really pretty amazing how well people have approximated the physics and the feel and certainly the look of these things. Oh, right now, incidentally, what I'm doing right here is creating the sort of not only the vent space, but also the access to the USB-C or HDMI out that you'll need for the monitor. Depending on the exact monitor that you end up getting, you may need to put this in a different place, that little venting spot, but it'll be up at either the top left or top right generally. I'll put links to everything, including the build instructions. I went at 4x for most of this video because it was just going to be so long and still so confusing. You really, really want to be able to see this in the instructions to understand all the nuances of what I'm doing here. But that front part that I just tiled up with smooth tiles is essentially the wrist rest, where if you were to want to be kind of over top of the pinball machine and working down on it, as opposed to just kind of grabbing it from the front, you could rest your wrist there, and it would be reasonably comfortable to do so, even though it is Legos, so the corners can be a little bit sharp and unforgiving. Right now I'm just creating a border around the playfield monitor. So after you put that screen in, you can lay this over top of it. It'll do some of the heavy lifting to hide the cabling and things like that that exist underneath the monitor and go to all the buttons and things like that. And it just makes it look a little bit nicer. I'm putting on those tiles again just to kind of smooth it out and make it look good. You'll see me drop that into place later, but that was just a very simple, quick playfield border that I was creating. So here I'm taking my Amazon cheapie monitor, I'm slotting it in there, not wiring it up yet, but yeah, essentially that's how the monitor will go. Sorry, the border will go over top of the monitor, and you can see that I've pretty much angled it to be similar to what the walls of the machine are like, and showing that the back of it is open to be able to access the ports that you need. So that pretty much concludes the first half of this, which is the playfield and playfield box. And I've moved on to the back box part of this that is very specifically built around the Lenovo Legion Go gaming handheld. And so that spot that you see at the now in the bottom left is where you're going to have to run the cables through for at least the bottom USB-C output of the Legion Go to get to the display and to the controller that all the buttons are wired into. So yeah, the way that I have sized this thing and the height of it, the width of it, the spacers that are around the bottom of it are all just to make sure that there is very little wiggle room for the Legion Go. And you'll see that while the back, the back most layers of bricks are pretty solid up to about 2/3 of the way up, I then had to leave some spaces for the vents that exist on the back of that unit. I didn't want this thing to run extra hot because it didn't have adequate ventilation. And so I kind of mirrored the locations of those on the on the Lego back box to be able to support that particular handheld. When I do a different version of this with a 10-inch screen as opposed to the 8.8 inch that's on the Legion Go, and I do a 10-inch screen for the sake of connecting to the Asus Z13 2-in-1, it's going to require like 3 more rows of bricks, and it's going to need to be wider. So the playfield part of this video will be 98+% the same. However, this back box changed pretty significantly just to be able to support the larger monitor, and frankly, it didn't need 3 studs of space in depth. It really only needed 2. But I get ahead of myself. Like and subscribe, and you'll get to see that one in a future video. But yeah, these Retro Future Guy build videos are just the first ones that I had in mind, but it's not all going to be builds. It's going to be hardware and software reviews as well. So if you want to see more stuff like this, then absolutely like and subscribe and support the channel, and I'll be so happy you did. This is where I'm starting to build up those fan holes or exhaust holes on the back of this thing. And yeah, we're getting pretty near the top of this thing. Traditionally, these back boxes, when you see them from the side, they're angled up. They're skinnier at the bottom than they are at the top. And I don't know whether that is to create, shade on the monitor so that there's not a glare from any overhead lights in the arcade or the bar or the whatever. But I've tried to replicate that for this particular one, which is why you see that upward angle that it has right there, ending at the widest point at the very top of this. Now, while I recognize that using the Legion Go is a little bit more niche than using something that's more mainstream like this Steam Deck, I like the fact that you were able to take the controllers off the left and right side and just put the monitor itself inside this thing. But if you do want to see a Steam Deck version of this thing, then by all means let me know in the comments, and I will try that out. I haven't tried it yet. So as I finish up building the borders around the monitor for the back glass, both for stability and just for looks, I'll then go on and create a top removable plate for this thing, or lid for this thing, so that you can pull the brains of it in and out very easily if you don't want your handheld sitting in here all the time. So you're going to see me create that. But I want to talk a little bit about the controller that you use to convert the pinball buttons, or the flipper buttons and the front buttons and all the myriad buttons on this thing into signals that the system is able to say, oh, that's a plunger button, or oh, that's a left flipper, that's a right flipper. So I just used what I had on hand, which was a Berk fighting board. It doesn't make a ton of sense to have a fighting board in a virtual pinball machine, but it's what I had on hand. And frankly, there was another more virtual pinball specific board that I had that had analog nudge on it so that you could physically move the system around. But for some reason, I misplaced the wiring harness for it. So while I am waiting for that to get shipped to me, I just decided to throw in a different fighting board. And it's fine. It does everything I needed it to do. And as I said, I've got the left, right, and vertical nudge buttons in here, and it runs all of those perfectly fine. It's only when you get into things that have an accelerometer in them that allow you to physically move the device and have it recognize, oh, I've just been shoved to the left or shoved to the right or shoved up. That's when you really want to get more specific about the board that you're using. And there's several out there. I'll leave them in the description of this thing. I'm running this thing at 4x and going very quickly because it seemed like there was so much to talk through, and this is kind of a little bit of probably a niche thing, particularly with the hardware requirements. But it's really not that expensive. Like if you figure that you spend $100 on the playfield monitor and maybe you get a used Legion Go for $400 or $500 at this point, and that's able to run most everything. You then, yes, you need to pay for the board and the wiring and things like that, but it's not a ton. And virtual pinball can be done inexpensively, but when you get to the high end stuff, it is crazy expensive. And as much as I have been really into it, I just couldn't justify six or eight or $10,000 for a cabinet with all the bells and whistles. But this is a fraction of the cost. And from here, you can decide whether it's important to you to slot in extra speakers or haptics to create force feedback and make the game rumble as you move it. Right now, I've just slotted in the Legion Go, and presently, I will, as soon as I'm done showing off the innards, I'll show some gameplay. You'll find a parts list and complete instructions to be able to build one of these for yourself down in the description. If you've got any questions or comments, let me know, and I will do my best to get back to those as quickly as I can. I hope you enjoyed the video today with the mini virtual pinball build featuring the Legion Go, and maybe it's exposed some new people who weren't familiar with the wonderful world of virtual pinball to a new hobby and a great form of entertainment and distraction. All right, that's it for today. See you on the next one.